Okay, looking at our do now today, we've got some things that are going to kind of help us get started with today's lesson. So it says, what is the correct equation for the area of a rectangle? So if we're talking about a rectangle, we're talking about the base and the height. We should know that the area of a rectangle is equal to base times height, or you might know it as area is equal to length times width, where this would be the length and this would be the width. Doesn't really matter, they both mean the same thing. You're multiplying the two perpendicular sides. Alright, so suppose a rectangle has a base of 3 and a height of 4x. So when it comes to anything geometry related, we're always going to sketch it out. So a base of 3 and a height of 4x. So that means our area is equal to base times height, which is 3 times 4x, which I can simplify to 12x. That's answer choice B. And lastly, it says a circle has a circumference of 4 pi. What is the diameter of and radius of the circle? So we know circumference is equal to pi times diameter. And so if I know the circumference is 4 pi and pi times diameter, I can divide both sides by this number. This is like dividing by 3.14 if we want to think about it that way. Divide both sides by pi. These both cancel out, telling me that 4 is equal to the diameter. Well, if 4 is equal to the diameter, the radius is going to be half of that. So thinking about this particular circle, it's going to be 4 all the way across, which means halfway across is going to be 2. You could also think about it using the equation that we talked about before, that diameter is equal to 2r. So that would tell me that if this is 4, 2r divided by 2, r is equal to 2. Same thing. Alright, so let's flip on over and look at our work for today. Alright, so today's aim is that Kipsters will be able to use the formula for area of a circle. So we're going to walk through how we can create the area of a circle and the equation for the area of the circle. So we're thinking about finding the formula for area of a circle. We're going to start by taking this circle and we're just going to cut it into 16 pieces. Really, you can cut it into as many pieces as you want, but the smaller the pieces are, the more this is going to make sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the triangular pieces, and sorry, I got double the directions here. Don't know why that happened. All the pieces, and we're going to just rearrange them. And so you can see I've rearranged them now. I've kind of taken them apart, and I'm going to start wedging them together. And I kind of squeeze them together here, where I have this and this. And I kind of squeeze them together, and it gives me this basically this rectangle that looks like this. So if we think about what the length is of each of these, so the length of this is really just half of the circumference. Well, the circumference we've talked about is equal to pi times d, or we've said that we've replaced the d, circumference is equal to pi times 2r. Well, if I'm looking for half of the circumference, I need to divide that by 2. So I can see that this particular portion of it is going to be pi times r. So when we're looking at this, this is half of the circumference. This kind of rectangle that was created when we took those wedges is pi times r. And if we look at the length, so how far it is from top to bottom, well, that's just the distance of one of these wedges, which means this is r. So what is the area of this rectangle? Well, the area of this rectangle that was created is pi r times r. Alright, so we can simplify that using exponents, where area is equal to pi times r we can represent as r squared. Are the areas of the rectangle here the same as the area of this circle? The answer to that question is yes. All I did was rearrange the pieces. So that's like saying if I took your desk and I cut it into 4 pieces and then kind of rearranged them, would the area of your desk be any different? No, absolutely not. You'd still have the same amount of space. It would just be reorganized. And so we have the same, we know that this is going to tell us that the area of this rectangle is equal to the area of a circle. So what we've just created is the area of a circle equation, which is the area of a circle is equal to pi times radius squared. Or if you're more comfortable, pi times radius times radius. Alright, so now let's go ahead and work on using this formula. Find the exact area of a region where the circle has a radius of 2. Alright, so using our formula, area is equal to pi times radius squared. Plug in your value. Area is equal to pi times 2 squared, which means that the area is equal to pi times 4, or 4 pi. Okay, that's one way to represent our answer. It says find the approximate area using 3.14 as an approximate for pi. So go ahead and plug that in and find your area. So if the area is equal to 4 pi, that would be area is equal to 4 times 3.14, which is going to give me 12.56 centimeters. Alright, go ahead and try this next one on your own. Alright, so it tells us the radius of a circle is 7 centimeters, so my equation for area of a circle is equal to pi times radius squared, which means I have pi times 7 squared is my radius. 7 times 7 is equal to 49. So we have 49 pi. It asks us to approximate this using pi, so you're going to do the same thing. Area is equal to 49 pi, except for this time you're going to plug in 22 over 7. 49 times 49 over 1 times 22 over 7. You can use your calculators if you want, or you can cross cancel here. This is going to be 7, leaving that is 7 times 22. Which would give me 154 centimeters squared. Now, on my paper, for some reason, I didn't get this problem on there. Got cut off somehow. So it asks you, it tells you a circle has a diameter of 20, and it asks you to find the area. Alright, so our area formula does not have diameter in it. our area formula is pi times radius squared. So that means that I need to go ahead and find the radius for this. Well, if the diameter is 20, that means the radius is half that. So the radius is equal to 10. So the area of a circle would be pi times 10 squared, which would be equal to 100. 10 times 10 is 100 pi. Area of the circle is equal to 100 pi. And go ahead and estimate that using 3.14. With pi is equal to 3.14. Well, I just need the area of the circle is 100 pi, which is 100 times 3.14 as our estimate, which is going to give me 314 centimeters squared. So notice again, my units here are centimeters squared because we're talking about area as opposed to a straight line distance. Alright? So let's go ahead and flip on over and look at our last couple of problems. Okay, it tells us a sprinkler rotates in a circular pattern and sprays water over a distance of 12 feet. What is the area of the circular region covered by the sprinkler? Express your answer to the nearest foot. So if you want to express your answer to the nearest foot, you are going to have to make an estimate for what pi is equal to. You may choose your estimate. You may choose 22 over 7 or 3.14. Alright, the first thing I want you to do is to draw a diagram to assist you. So again, anytime we are doing geometry, a lot of times we're going to draw a diagram. Go ahead and with your teammates, go ahead and draw a diagram of what's happening in this particular situation. Pause the video until you're done. Alright, so looking at this, we have a sprinkler head that is spraying out water a distance of 12 feet. Well, as it rotates around, that 12 feet is going to change where it is. Around and around and around and around and around in a circle. You know the radius is 12 feet. Alright, so radius is equal to 12 feet. That's what our area is covered. That's what the 12 feet represents in the problem. So if we want to know the area, this one's really easy. Area of a circle is pi times radius squared. We said I'm going to use 3.14. So go ahead and use 3.14 or 22 over 7, your choice, as an estimate to find out to the nearest foot. So that means we're going to have to round here. What is the area of the circle that the sprinkler is covering? So go ahead and pause and make sure that you've got that solved and rounded. When we look at this, the area of the circle will be equal to pi times 12 squared. So if I'm saying pi is 3.14, 12 squared that it's being multiplied by is 144. Plugging that into my calculator, I'm going to get the area of this circle is 452.16 square feet. It did want me to round to the nearest square foot, and so when I'm looking here, this is where I'm rounding to. This would be the place value that I'm rounding with, and so when I look at that, that means that I'm going to be rounding down to 452 square feet. 452 square feet. Okay, let's come over and look at this last problem. It says the circumference of a circle is 24 pi. What is the exact area of the circle? So draw a diagram of this particular situation. Alright, it says what information is needed to solve this problem. So if you're thinking about area is equal to pi times radius squared, what do you need to figure out to solve this problem? You need to figure out the radius, right? The radius. All right, so you have to find a way to find the radius. Now, if we look at our equation for circumference, we know the circumference is equal to 24 pi, which is the same thing as pi times d is equal to 24 pi. Now we can solve that by dividing both sides by pi. And that gives me that d is equal to 24. I still don't know the radius, but I can use the diameter to find the radius. If the diameter is equal to 24, then the radius is equal to what? The radius is equal to 12. Alright, so when we come over here, now we can plug into our equation down here. Area is equal to pi times radius squared, which is pi times 12 squared. It's almost exactly like the previous problem, where the area is equal to pi times 144, or we could say that's 144 pi, or we could plug in an estimate for pi. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so that is all of our work for today. Please go ahead and move on to your alone time. Notice on your alone time, once again, there are a couple of common modules that you could be working on when you are done.